Okay.
Did you want to ask that question?
Yeah. Okay. What is your greatest experience of the culture shock?
Yeah, I mean, like we talked before a little bit, culture is also a very big concept. I mean, what is culture? It's composed of many, many things. It's very difficult to define. For me, when I first came to Taiwan a long, long time ago, I knew that it wasn't really going to be very easy to live and find a job, and I wasn't really even planning on staying here if I didn't like it. So I guess the biggest shock that I had wasn't really from the culture, because I knew everything was going to be different. I knew everybody would be eating different things, wearing different clothes, but that really wasn't that different from what I was used to. The thing that probably gave me the biggest shock was that I didn't really realize how important language was going to be. I didn't know very much. I didn't know any Taiwanese, and I knew very little Chinese before I got here. Very, very little. I could say, where is someplace or something like that. And I thought I could still live and get a job and kind of work in the society without knowing Chinese. So that's my original plan. But after being here for only a few weeks, that was the biggest shock, was that I wasn't going to be able to enjoy being here unless I learned the language. So for me, if you want to say language is culture, if you want to say they're the same thing, then yeah, the big thing was I knew that I had to learn Chinese in order to feel comfortable being here. And after I got here, I spent the next couple of years working fairly hard on my Chinese so that I could enjoy being here. And but every single problem I had, it was more personal, just trying to figure out if I needed to find a place to live or I needed to find a job. I don't really think it was the culture that gave me any problems. It was just dealing with the situation. I mean, there were many laws and things like that that were different than there were now, visas and things like that. But I don't think it was really culture. It was just rules that I had to deal with.
So you mean languages will let you feel comfortable or more comfortable to live here?
Yeah, I just realized that of course I could not speak any Chinese and still live comfortably, because people do that. But if I really wanted to go into a little restaurant and do more than just point at something, that wouldn't make me feel very comfortable. So I wanted to be able to talk to people that I met. I wanted to be able to have some kind of at least short communication with the people that I saw every day.
Okay. Okay. What are some of the cultural gaps in an interracial marriage?
Okay. Again, in my particular case, I don't really think that there are that many cultural gaps. I think if we have problems or difficulties, I think it's more of, I think personality problems cause more conflict or cause more misunderstanding than cultural does.
Mm-hmm. So you think that the culture doesn't influence your communication with your wife?
I'm sure it does, but I think that the culture is not as important as the individual aspects. For example, although I'm an American, I maybe have different values than maybe a lot of other Americans would have. I also think my wife's values are totally different from her parents. They're coming up in a different generation, and I don't really think she even understands traditional Chinese culture. In fact, many aspects of, some people would say, traditional Chinese culture, maybe I understand better than she does. Traditional Chinese things. But, for example, I mean, I understand a little bit more about Chinese music because I've studied the Guqin a little bit, and maybe some Chinese martial arts, or maybe even some philosophy that she doesn't know. Of course, she knows a lot more history and things like that, but I think each person is more different than the culture, so I don't really think it's a cultural thing that would cause any problems. It's more personal.
So it's not really, because nowadays every person has has a little influence in their culture. So maybe between the interracial marriages, they're more focused on the every individual. Is that your point?
Right, and I think, I think maybe the differences are smaller now than they were in the past. Because everyone has a big exposure to the rest of the world. I mean, probably ever since television, even people grow up knowing more about other countries or cultures and things like that. So the differences, I think, between people are probably also getting a lot smaller. So I think culture plays a smaller role than individual personality.
Okay.